Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to our event presenting REEF. I am Heather McGee. I am the Chief Executive Officer of 17 Asset Management. We are a firm committed to place-based impact investing, and we are partners with Riverside Center for Innovation and have been for a number of years. We have been committed to Pittsburgh since meeting Juan and the team because for so many reasons. And we have a report on our website that was our initial findings of Pittsburgh that showcased a city ready for growth, development, but was facing some challenges in the connectivity of capital and, quite frankly, some serious racism. And that's a problem. And so we committed to solving problems around the capital component, directing it towards the businesses and the entrepreneurs who are not accessing the capital appropriately that they need to scale and to have the impact that they have the potential to have. And that is a problem Juan and RCI and many of the people in this room have known about for years. It's not a new problem, but it is something that we want to help be a part of the solution too. And so we have come up with REEF, and REEF is a funding facility. It is an intermediary between the businesses that go through RCI's programming that are ready to scale and packaging their future plans and their ambitions into investable opportunities for the funders in Pittsburgh and across the nation. And so if you're here as a funder, we have some incredible funding opportunities available for you. And if you're here as one of the businesses that is just fighting through all the chaos and you're still standing here today and you're still succeeding, we commend you and we are so proud of you and we want to continue helping you on that journey. The reason we're all here today is twofold. One is to hear about and hear from some of the businesses that have gone through the programming, who are part of REEF, who are positioned and ready to scale and grow and continue to deepen their economic impact on the communities. And that is our first session will be moderated by Juan Garrett. And then the second session will be moderated by myself, and we'll be engaging leaders and builders and investors in the region who have gotten to scale or who otherwise are part of the ecosystem that quite frankly opens the doors to allowing people to scale. And so we will hear from them as to the importance of these businesses getting the right capital and the right support they need to be the major players of the future that we know that they're destined to be. And so thank you for being here. We're so excited. And with that, I will turn it over to Juan.
All right. Thank you, Heather, so much. I'm Juan Garrett. I am the Executive Director here at Riverside Center for Innovation. And so a lot of you all know that we work with startup entrepreneurs in the region. And so one of the things we just tried to figure out when the pandemic hit, we were getting questions, and many of you all in the same space as us was trying to figure out where our portfolio Black businesses at in Pittsburgh. Wasn't too many. And when we looked at this, we figured, wait a minute, we should do some research here and really figure out how can we scale Black-owned businesses in Pittsburgh. And so my board participates with Reed Smith. So Reed Smith connected us with Reed Smith in New York, who was the client of 17th Asset Management. So we got on several different phone calls, and we were able to come up with a report called A Case for an Intentional Investment in Pittsburgh. And we interviewed clients and we interviewed key stakeholders to see the gap that was made into this ecosystem that we had here for minority entrepreneurs. And then that's when we realized, talking to them, everybody knows access to capital is an issue. But what kind of access to capital was really the question. The different pools that should be available for minority-owned businesses. Now, we are in Pittsburgh and we are eds and meds. There are a ton of technology investment companies here. Okay, so I'm involved in that. How many are really becoming successful in those tech firms? However, when we did our research, there is nothing in this country that offers our facility fund that we are going to be talking about today on how we can invest in construction around built environment. What is a built environment? It is how do you solve issues in these low income communities, which are most vulnerable. A lot of them don't have food deserts. They don't have main business district. Affordable housing is there. there. We're talking about a built environment in these communities. How do we create a fund that addresses a built environment in our most vulnerable communities? So we identified that and created this fund called RCI's Equitable Entrepreneurships Facility, REEF. If you know, there are a couple of little reports there behind us. That was the call of action that we had after we released our case of intentional investment, because it did point, there are racism practices here in Pittsburgh, and until we admit that, we're never going to be able to move forward, but we are admitting this. We're taking these steps. But the next piece is for us to create a fund to have really, truly great entrepreneurs that have come and Riverside has touched. So you're going to hear from our panel. These are some of our alumni companies who are really making an impact here in Pittsburgh. This is just a handful. I see some other ones sitting around in here as well that we have been able to either get through certification, help them get small lines of credit and all the different things. But to scale, how do we make that easy money for them for some of the projects that you may hear about for them to do that? And in this study, we also found to grow businesses in our region, you have to either have big corporate contracts and government contracts. We know that's not happening as much as we want. You can also become a union signatory. Some of them are becoming, and they are starting to grow. The other way is through business acquisitions. Nobody has a fund for our companies to acquire these businesses that might be available to help them scale and get to that next level. That's a portion of what this fund is going to be created with. So at this moment, these are our rising stars over at BizFit and REEF and the REEF alumni that's here. Some of you all may know them, but at this moment, I'm gonna ask them to take 2 minutes to do a quick introduction on who they are. Why don't we start with you, Karen, and then we'll go down that way.
Good evening. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Denton. I'm the owner and founder of KSC Commercial Cleaning Services, KSC Building, and our new project is KSC Bidding Consultant Program. After surviving 4 brain aneurysms and 2 open brain surgeries, I was given a second chance at life. And what KSC stands for is Karen's Second Chance. I thought it was for me, but it's for people like me who need a second chance.
Tina.
Hello, my name is Tina Daniels, owner of Concrete Rose Construction. We are developer builders here in Pittsburgh with a focus on affordable housing.
Christian.
Hello, I'm Christian Robinson, the owner and founder of KI Heavy Construction. We are a specialty contractor here in the city. We specialize in heavy highway projects.
Hello, I'm Mona Manny from Low Country Building Solutions. I'm the owner, and we are construction managers as well as construction company. And yeah, we operate here mainly in Pittsburgh.
So one of the questions I'm going to ask you all, because I know you all came through BizFit. So tell us a little bit about how you appreciated coming through BizFit and what it has done for your business. Any successes you have, any milestones since you've been able to come through that program. So whoever wants to take that as an answer and answer that for us.
Yeah, I'll take that. So I started my company in 2019, and when by trade, I'm a heavy highway contractor or heavy highway carpenter. And I started my business. I really didn't know too much about running a business. I knew how to build with my hands. I got connected with Riverside, and I told them my idea, and they just pretty much got the ball rolling for me. Didn't know what a capability statement was. They helped me with that. Helped me with just getting my paperwork aligned, and got my business rolling. And every single event, class, whatever they were offering, I was there at every single one of them. Just because I wanted to show them that I was really, passionate about growing my business. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was one of the first ones.
Yes.
Through the biz fit, and it was, got so much out of it. I think I've got the OSHA 10, the bonding, a line of credit. So it was just an amazing program to go through, and just the cohorts that I have that I'm still doing business with.
Well, for me, BizFit, when I was in healthcare for 22 years, and I always did construction as like a side hustle. And I got burnt out in nursing, and I knew I wanted to do something different, but I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be. And when I found some great programs, free work cohorts that help you structure up your company and get your back office and everything lined up, that segued me into Juan's BizFit program. And once I got in BizFit and got started with just really structuring up the back office, they put us in front of accountants, lawyers, like Reed Smith helped me to then take, you say, okay, I want this arm over here to be my construction company and this arm to be my commercial landscaping company. And Reed Smith helped me to line those up the right way. And in every aspect of just you thinking through the first beginning stages of a business, they helped me with that. And then also connected me to what was most important with just starting out is some money. So, they lined me up with, first it was Kiva, which is a low interest loan. And then it was to Dollar Bank, which was my first line of credit. And then even segued into Northside Development Fund, which was my first big initial investment to help me segue into developing my own project. So just all the way along the way, from the conception to where we are now, and even continue to scale with programs like this, they have been by my side the whole time.
When I joined RCI, I was already an established business, but they helped me to, when you grow a business blindly, I'll say, there's a lot of moving parts that you don't know about. And so when I connected with RCI, I was able to tap into all those entities and sources that I didn't know I needed.
All right. So now that you're out of BizFit and you have your businesses here, so what are some of the challenges that you have faced on being able to get your business and scale to that next level? Whether it's workers or that, and I talked to each of you, so I don't want to toss softball the question, but maybe I might. How hard it is for you to get some of that front access, front soft costs and access to capital. If you had that, how much faster could you be able to do your development project, purchase your building, refinance different things, and being able to really get your building set off? So what challenges have you had by not having those types of flexible funds?
So for me, with building and developing residential housing, the piece of what I'm learning is there's a whole prerequisite to the actual construction of the building, the pre-development part that happens 2 to 3 years prior. It takes a good $100,000 to $200,000 to get it completed before you get the building. So having access to capital from a fund such as REEF will allow me to be planning projects in a pipeline while we're still thinking about, because truthfully, you really should be 7 and 10 years out when you're developing. And to do that, you need the money. So, it would definitely help me be able to not only think about where our trajectory is going to go, but also be able to facilitate the pre-development of that.
Well, I can tell you how bad it was for me. During COVID, when everybody left their buildings and nobody paid their invoices, but everybody showed up for work. I end up in a predicament where I end up taking these predatory loans because that was the fastest and the only way I could fulfill my payroll. So it's bad.
Right.
Mhm. So oh,
Go ahead.
okay. So my experience, like I said, when I was introduced to Riverside and the different programs, we had got our first contract, and at the time, I owned the company with someone. It was a 50-50 partnership. And our very first big contract at the airport, me and my partner, we worked with our tools the whole time. We couldn't afford to get labor out of the union because we didn't have the funds to pay the workers. So we basically worked for free during that whole project until we got our payment, and the payments was net, 30, 60. So for 2-3 months, I mean, I don't know how we did it, honestly, looking back, but we basically worked that project for free up until we got our final payment. So having that access to capital, especially when you're first starting out, you don't know what all it comes with it. Like, you don't know, hey, there's certain taxes associated with this or certain costs associated. You don't know, you go into it almost blindly. And some of the things you don't really gain unless you have the experience in being in that area. So, the programs, they definitely help me, like, hey, you might want to look at this. You're going to need funding for this. It just kind of opens your eyes up to all the aspects of doing business in that type of field.
And something I want to add to the 60 days or 90 days, and they keep your retention, your 10%. Like that could be your profit, whatever, and they're sitting on it for, like I had someone sit on it for about a year and a half. So it's a lot that goes into trying to finance a job, and if you don't have it, it kind of slows you into move forward, forward to other ones as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So what is some successes you had in your business? And I don't want to be negative Nate all the time, but you got to have some successes in your stories and be able to tell some of your successes.
I have several successes. One, we purchased a 3-story, 10,000 square feet building. 2 of the floors are undeveloped still, but we purchased that. We have a success story in our mentor program that we just launched. I have a client, let me just share the story real quick. I had a client who scheduled a call with me. She didn't have the money for the program. She said that God told her to reach out to me. And when she said that, I heard God tell me to do it for free. And in 3 months since I've been working with her, she's already a 6-figure business. And with the cleaning company, we actually got awarded a piece of that UPMC project. We haven't started yet, but that's a big accomplishment for my business.
One of our most recent successes is we just completed our first new construction affordable housing development, Benedict Dwellings. And in doing that, we used 85% minority companies. I make a effort to use small Black minority companies in what we do. We often get shut out of projects that are new construction because they say we don't have the capacity or we can't do it. So I wanted to make sure to not only showcase that I could do it, but so can companies that I support and are smaller than me. If we work together as a team, we can complete a new construction development. And we did that, and we are breaking ground on our 8-unit development on Monday.
One of our successes, I mean, not only I'm at the point where I'm no longer working with my tools anymore, I'm actually managing and running the company. But back a few years ago, this is big for me. Back a few years ago, when they were built in Palmer's Monaca plant, Shell was built in the chemical plant in Monaca. I worked as a carpenter for that project and did a lot of the foundations. I built a lot of the foundations. Last year, I was able to get mentored by Shell for the whole entire year. And we're working and partnering with a company that's also mentoring me. And we're going to be mobilizing on a project at Shell, the Shell plant that I worked as a carpenter later this month. So a lot of big companies, a lot of older companies, they don't get the opportunity to work with a big, organization like Shell. So that's kind of like a 360, like eye opener, moment for me. So.
Well, my positive comes from being able to help others. So I have guys who work for me who are now going through a lot of training. And one of the companies that have been helping me is Harley back there with Gateway. And yeah, she's been helping with a lot of the training. So some of the guys are very appreciative. They're so happy about their certificates in weatherization and lead, and so it makes me feel good to be able to help others, because I know education and training is the key, and not only gives you a better workforce, but it also makes better entrepreneurs as well.
Got to send a shout out to all of our resource partners at the reference here in the room. So definitely, we couldn't have built this system without being able to have all the collective people who are here, because that's what it takes. It takes that village. And how do we collectively bring down these silos and really just start working and growing in Pittsburgh to make Pittsburgh that better place? And so with that being said, what is it that you would like to see Pittsburgh do for yourselves and your businesses if we had all the stars and everything we could grab and do whatever it is? What is it that you would like to see for your business, and what in the perfect world, what would Pittsburgh look like for you all?
I like to see more joint ventures, collaborations.
Yeah, thank you.
Joint ventures and collaborations, and just people getting together to make projects really work.
Yeah, the same here. I'm really big on, just like Mona said, donating my time. Whatever free time that I have, I try to get with the youth, get with, high school students, and help them figure out the path, whether it's, going into the union, working, and eventually becoming entrepreneurs. I'm very open to tell my story, from graduating high school until where I am now. And it all just eventually comes full circle, because you don't know what you want to do when you first start out, but it's about just keep moving, the ball forward, and everything else will just fall into place for you.
Well, for me, what I believe and how I practice is collaboration. How I've even grown my business to where it is with collaboration. And I believe that with collaboration, it has a big impact on communities, because like I felt that in my industry, there was no table to sit at. So I had to create my own seat at the table. And so I want to take the information that I learned, help other businesses be successful in their businesses, so that families can be better off. So that's my goal. I want to help other businesses grow their business so we all could win.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You have to. All right. So, any words of advice? The room has some other entrepreneurs here from you all. There's some funders here. Anything that you would want, one quick sentence that you would want to say? And then I'm going to try to stay on time. And I wanted to see if anybody in the audience had a question for you all, since I'm asking. I'm sure I could see some faces looking like, I wonder this. But if you have one word advice, one sentence advice that you can let people know.
I would say, don't wait till you feel ready. Start with what you have and keep learning and build as you go. That's what.
I would also say, don't be afraid to just own all the pieces of what it is you do. I've tried to, just to be completely honest, I tried to segue in to what it is I'm doing now the regular way, and I just could not get the opportunity to do it. So I had to have a construction company, a development company, a property management company. So don't be scared to just create your own ecosystem and to work that way.
But she's not lying about that. We do her mail, and I'm going, what is going on up here in Suite 320? No.
Mine would be just don't be afraid to, like take the chance for yourself. Like we gamble on a lot of things, we gamble at the casino, we gamble, the lottery. Just don't take the chance to just gamble with yourself and put yourself out there and put all your chips in when it comes to your dream and your business, because it eventually pays off.
So I've been around a long time. I think when I started, Titanic was in the movie theater, so that's a long time. We're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and the mistakes that you make, you learn from them. Put it behind you and just work on the next win. That's fine.
So I definitely want to thank them all. And I thought they were going to go in a little bit more detail, but I won't put them on the spot for that. But does anybody here have any kind of questions that you may want to ask one of our panelists up here?
Yes, question over here. I'm directed towards Tina, but if anyone else wants to answer, feel free. I love your comment about don't be afraid to create your own ecosystem. Kind of found myself in a similar thought process. Can you share why it was important to create your own ecosystem, and also why you felt it important to have multiple streams of revenue in your business model?
So I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I know we're on the time limit, but for me, what I realized is, you go out and you try to facilitate contracts, you're bidding on it, and rightfully so, they say they're looking for the most responsible bid. But when you don't have access to capital and it's costing you a little more because you don't got access to the suppliers, you're not ordering in bulk. So your bid could be a little bit more. And I just wasn't winning any bids. I wasn't getting out my numbers, although they were fair numbers as far as what it took for my company to do it. And they would want me to do it for pennies. And then you're bidding against, say, me and Karen are putting in the bid, and I say 150 and she comes in at 148, and then he comes in at 149. You're working backwards. They're running us to the bottom. So I said, what I realized is that they're building these affordable housing with grants and things and subsidies. If I could build it for them, then I could build it for me. So I went out and learned how to get the money, and I got the money and started building the exact same thing I did for them for myself. Then you got to have somebody that's going to manage it when you're done in your rentals. And I said, okay, learn that. So then I go and I started a property management company, and I manage my own properties. And I'm learning and I'm making mistakes, but I am not afraid to own the whole process. And one of the persons that was a great mentor inspiration for me for that was Marimba Malines over at the Hill CDC. Watching her and watching what she does definitely inspired me a lot to do the things I do.
Any other questions?
Patrick Miller, I just want to say congratulations to everybody on the panel and also the entrepreneurs that's in the room. Good to see you, Mona.
Good to see you.
I came through BizFit with Mona back in 2016, was gone for a couple years in a couple other states. But I had a question for Karen. Karen's a good friend of mine. We used to work together years ago, and I heard you say something about bidding. What was your segue, or how did you end up getting that started, and kind of who did you go to, and because I heard you say you landed a project with UPMC. I remember you speaking about it, that you was bidding on it, and now you got it. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about that.
Well, 2 years ago, God was pushing me to teach entrepreneurs how to bid because of the network that I have out of state. They teach people how to get leads, and they don't even know what a lead is, and different things. And nobody's teaching the companies how to get to the money. So I said, I'm gonna teach them how to get to the money. Because it's more to this business than people think, but the heartbeat is the bidding. So I believe that's my purpose. So I'm gonna do what God said, and he told me, get people to the money.
All right, well, let's give another round of applause. I'm sorry for the panel here. We're gonna transition to the next panel to try to stay on time, which I did. That's unusual. But definitely, we want to make sure that you have time afterwards to get a chance to talk to everybody. We do have a little bit of food coming out in a little while. So hang out, mingle, get a chance to talk to us, talk to the team here and introduce yourselves. How can you get involved and go from there? I will turn it over to Heather and her panelists. They can come up and replace the group that's here now. They should know who they are.
Yay.
Thank you so much. And maybe another round of applause for our first panel. As you can see, we are inspired by them, and they are the reason that we have created REEF and why we are determined to be successful in supporting them in their development. Our second panel is taking a seat now, so we'll give them a second. Wonderful. So as you heard how important capital is and how important it is for connectivity and access and the resources to learn and grow, to have those experiences that shape you and push you to the next level without, taking your feet out from under you and allowing you to become really who you set out to be as a business. And so that is why we're here together with this next panel. And so I'm gonna just jump right into it. And my first question for my panelists, and we'll start with you, Lance, and we'll head on down the line to Patrice, followed by Richard, and then Jason. And so our first question is, why are you doing the job you're doing? And describe your firm's commitment to the small business community in Pittsburgh.
All right, thank you. So our commitment, my name is Lance Harrell. I work for a group called the Master Builders Association of Western Pennsylvania. We actually are a construction trade group. We have about 300 members and they do about 80% of all the commercial construction. So Turner with Patrice here sitting beside me, Rycon, PJ Dick are just some of our GCs. A little while ago, some time ago, our members came up that they needed to find ways to get more minorities into the trades. But more importantly, what can we do to develop more minority contractors who are signatory to the trades? Actually, given, like you said, the tie into what BizFit has been doing for years was have a program called the BizFit, was develop businesses, but also they were really focused on developing minority businesses. So actually our commitment really is what can we do in the Pittsburgh and West Pennsylvania area to develop minority contractors in the union workforce.
Wonderful.
Hi, I'm Patrice Thompson. I'm with Turner Construction. I'm the Director of Community and Citizenship. So my position is kind of split. I deal with community initiatives. I deal with bringing and assisting minority subcontractors on our projects, and then just overall making sure that we're connecting with community stakeholders, shareholders to advance the region wherever we're building. The reason why I love my job is because I get to hold my GC accountable. So anything that we're saying, if we're not doing it, I'm going to be the person that is going to make sure that we do it or we find a strategy to make sure it gets done.
Awesome.
My name is Richard Taylor. I'm CEO of MBTech. We're a Pittsburgh-based general and the electrical construction firm. So why am I doing the job I'm doing? Because I'm a dumb investor. I wish I was joking, but that's the truth. And our commitment to small business, we've been in business for 22 years. And I've made just about every mistake you can make in business. And I do everything I can to make sure other folks don't learn the hard way the way that I have.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Jason White, and I am a business relationship manager with JP Morgan Chase Bank. Why I do the job is simple for me. Having been a small business owner at one point in my life, I feel like the thing we miss the most is the information. How do you get from here to here? And my job allows me to do that, being the liaison between the bank and the business owner. I feel like I'm the unpaid employee for you guys, but bringing the information back to help you get where you're going in whatever ways possible, while also collaborating with other financial institutions if that's necessary.
Perfect, Jason. Thank you. Maybe we'll start with you and come back the other way. Could you describe a challenge your business or your work has faced, and why would it be so important to have a facility such as REEF?
Well, the biggest issue is getting people to be in the same space and actually trust financial institutions, especially in an environment where we're coming out of COVID and it's a rising rate environment, which raises the cost on everyone. So having someone who is trusted to work with, and also knowing that you can create partnership versus just someone who's looking to benefit off the struggles of others makes sense for me.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Richard?
So, as going through multiple stages and iterations of the business, I'm looking at my banker here, who is a key partner. But what I will say is, before I started working with him, I can remember different points. At one point applying to it was 9 different financial institutions in about a 6-month time period. And going through the preparation, the application process, the examination, opening up everything, good, bad, and ugly, and having every one of them look at me and say, nah, you're not investable. That's challenging for lots of reasons. One, all you entrepreneurs know you don't have any time. So to take that amount of time away from the other parts of your business is costly. It's demoralizing. So having a resource that helps to make sure you have everything in line that you need to have in line, to help present you to a warm contact who is predisposed to trying to find the way to yes, or helping you work through what you need to get to yes, is really critically important. And then, I'm glad to say, going to the next phase where the institutions were competing for our business. And Todd's my friend, but he earned the business and has been a phenomenal partner. So that's critically important for entrepreneurs.
Wonderful. Thank you. Patrice?
I think a challenge that Turner faced that we're trying to tackle, and I think working alongside with folks like Richard and Lance, is we assumed a lot. We assumed that folks understood resources. We assumed that folks had capital. We assumed that we knew what communities and what was needed. And as we kind of started combing through and figuring those things out and building out programs and partnering and working alongside our, other minority businesses, we still have a lot of work to do. But I think that the acknowledgement and then taking the accountability is going to continue to push. So I would say that is one of our biggest challenges. And I think that that's why it's important to support programs like REEF. Because it holds us accountable, and then it's also able for us to provide the resources back to the businesses. So I would have to say that.
That's great. Thank you.
I would have to say the biggest challenge is the lack of exposure. Dealing in the construction industry, most of the individuals who started off their businesses was always started off as a union carpenter, a plumber, electrician, so forth, and worked up through the ranks. Went from a skilled trade worker and became a foreman or superintendent. For us, historically, we never had opportunities to work in the trades. So therefore, you kind of learn the business from the ground up. First, Christian started off as a union carpenter on heavy highway, and that gave him the exposure, right? So the challenge is, like you said, is not having the exposure, having the opportunities to learn the industry. And it's kind of hard to go into a commercial industry without having a commercial background. Not saying that it can't be done, because there's programs like RIF that actually help you with the education, but it is a huge learning curve to not come from a commercial industry and to try to come in to work in this building right here, like Reed Smith's building, right, for PNC. And that's the challenge that we're really facing, that why can't we have a Mercedes, a Turner, a PJ Deck that actually is a Black-owned business here in Pittsburgh? Right now, the largest business that we have contractor is Waller Construction out in Washington, PA. But like I said, historically, we just never had those opportunities to get our foot in from the ground up, move up through the ranks, learn the business, and actually start off as a specialty contractor and then move on to a GC.
Great, thank you, Lance. I hope you guys, it's coming clear how important it is to have institutions such as REEF be building communities and providing access to each other, really. And I think the term REEF is really appropriate, because in a REEF you have all the different ecosystems building and growing together and connecting together and thriving together. And so I'm going to bring us to the next question. I'm going to throw this one specifically to Patrice and then to Jason. The first one is, what are some specific ways that your firm at Turner does help businesses in Pittsburgh?
So I know everyone always says like programs. Yes, we do programs, but at the same time, it is allowing the accessibility to have joint ventures. Also being able to assist on bonding and helping folks find capital. I think those are the main things. And it's also exposure. There's a few folks where they've asked, hey, where can I get my, my business in? And it's like, well, let me have a conversation with procurement. How can we break a bid package down a little bit to give you a piece of the pie? Okay, if you can't get in the bid package, what do you need? Okay, you need to understand the back end work. Let's have you have a conversation with estimating. Let's have a conversation with bidding so you can understand where you're possibly missing bidding. Capital, I think, is a huge one, but at the same time, you can't access capital if you don't understand the education part, if you don't understand the administration part, if you don't understand the risk and liability. So a lot of folks will ask, hey, is there a liability here? Well, let's have a conversation with the insurance department so you can figure that out. Let's have a conversation with, some of our law and general counsel that we have at Turner. So it's folks coming and asking. I think that's one of the biggest things. If you ask, closed mouths don't get fed.
Absolutely.
So if someone asks, we connect, but I definitely think it's being able to provide getting on a project. Programs are great. You can sit in a program all day, but if you're not coming and asking someone, how do I get on the project? Then you're never going to be able to get the revenue. So I would have to say that.
Great. Thank you, Patrice. Jason.
So I think our firm does a lot of good things for small businesses. It was widely reported that there was a $33 billion commitment to Black and brown communities and business folks. Some of the other things that we do to help small businesses, and you don't even have to be a customer for this, is we give away free executive coaching. There are all kind of different avenues to go based on how to access capital. But to get you ready, it's one thing to need the money. It's another thing to be ready to take it. You can't take someone's money without understanding what it means. Coaching you through debt covenants, right? Once you take my money, what are you responsible for? And how do you get to the next point because you may need more money, but you have to satisfy the covenants of that first loan prior. And sometimes that means understanding that you need your first institution's permission to take on more cash. So we do those, and then having people like myself and other people who work with small businesses, and that's a relative term, right? Because at each institution, small business is something a little different. So helping you through those processes. We also have you to have the ability, if you do go through those, to use our network of people, right? Everybody talks about creating your own ecosystem. Who do I know that can help you? And that's part of our jobs as well. And then one of the things that most people don't know is that we do have at the bottom of our site, everything you need to know that's good on that website is always at the bottom. Is to get rid of the people who only want to look at the top. But there is a space where you can register yourself as a vendor for your local area. And as projects come up, and when they build these new banks, we built 27 of them in the last 4 years. So they need someone to clean them up after the construction people leave. Someone's going to supply the pictures. We hired a balloon artist and all the stuff you see when we open up the branches. Someone has to paint them. If they come hang a new TV, they need to put new monitors in. There's people who do those things. So all those things are other opportunities that we try to use local small businesses for, so that the region grows and you're not just using a national firm all the time, that they get bigger, but nobody else benefits it from the community you serve.
Great. Thank you, Jason. I'm open to anybody else jumping in. Otherwise, happy to jump to the next question. This one, well, go ahead, Richard, please, please.
Patrice didn't give Turner all the due that they're really entitled to. We partnered with Turner as part of a mentor protege program through the University of Pittsburgh, which was tremendously helpful, helping to grow our capacity. We've done a couple of joint ventures with Turner, one project that we're doing now. And so, I mean, growing the relationship, getting your foot in the door, building the relationship, growing capacity is one of the things that Turner's done really great job on. Do you talk about it later? I'm sorry. This message brought to you by.
Amazing. Well, maybe I'll throw this one to you, Lance. Can you describe an example of small business success that you're proud of, your organization having supported?
Me and Patrice, we can double team on this
Yeah,
one.
perfect, perfect.
So at the beginning of this year, actually last year, MBA, we started a cohort. It was called for Emerging Contractor Development Committee. So it was made up of our members. We came together, what can we do to actually advance minority businesses? From that, we came up with it's called the 3-part Emerging Contractor Development Program. It actually is a 13 classes spread out over 11 months. So just imagine what BizFit, it's like BizFit. So we actually took a lot of the students from BizFit into our program. So it's the same thing as being taught by our members over the next, like I said, 13 classes. Actually, there's several students that are actually in this class now that came from BizFit is actually in our program, but they're being taught by our members, our general contractors, or affiliate members. So it's really just diving in deeper on everything from networking, bonding, estimating, insurance, legal, understanding the documents, anything and everything that emerging contractor needs to know. That's what we're diving into. And one of the biggest things is just even the network. If you're in this industry or any business, right, it is really who you know sometimes, not what you know, it's who you know. And a lot of times we never have the opportunities because we don't go to the same golf club, the same resort to build those relationships. I'll put this out there. How many people clay shoot, right? Clay shooting. Before I started, right, I never golfed. Me and Rich, we golfed once before. We weren't really good at it, but golf and clay shooting is really big. It's like how you build out your network, going to social functions. How do you feel going to an environment where you may be the only of a few there and you're outnumbered, right? Do you feel confident going to an environment where you're the only one there and go up to complete strangers and just start shaking hands, starting conversations? But that's how you build out the network. So that's one of the things that our program, and Patrice can dive in a little bit more about it, but that's what we're working on, how we build relationships, get you the education, get you the access to the capital, get you to understand the time management, project management, scheduling, like I said, everything you need to know, that's what we're working on now.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Jeez, I stole my thunder. But yes, sorry, I'm a mess, y'all. But Richard definitely has been one of our, I think, just success being a joint venture. I mean, it has been really a pleasure. Because when I first started at Turner, you had already started a joint venture with us, but just to see the company grow, to see all the things that we're doing with Immutech, it's been fun, and I'm excited to continue to grow. And then there's others that we've worked with. I mean, I'd have to give, 333, 2BN, like individuals that went through our program and really utilized resources. And they were like, what can I do? And it's like, well, let's sit down and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's others where, trying to find the opportunities. And also being able to connect folks to the MBA, one with the program that Lance and others we've put together, but being able to connect individuals to the unions and being able to utilize the MBA to getting folks signatory to the union, because that's something that's really hard as a GC that is signatory to 17 different unions. Mm-hmm. So it's what resource can we provide to then be able to educate individuals on why you should be in the union and how you can do work with us. And then being able to, again, hold us accountable to figure out, okay, what is missing so we can continue to keep educating our minority businesses. With the program, with the MBA, I mean, it truly, I think, has more meat to it compared to some of the others, because we're all coming together. And I think a lot of folks in Pittsburgh, when they think of GCs, they think of us as all competing against each other. But this is in one space where we're all putting our knowledge together and saying, what are the same challenges? What are the same kind of barriers that folks are going through from the GC side? And then being able to work with folks like Lance and the MBA to just keep an even playing field. And truly those individuals are getting a deeper dive compared to just 5 weeks and you're kind of getting just, you know, a quick brush through. It's sitting down and being able to really understand the bid, understand the estimating, having mock estimating, understanding the brand awareness. I mean, that's something that is really important as well. Our construction industry is only this big. It takes one time and people are like, nope, I don't want to do that. So explaining the difference between what brand awareness is in this industry. So I think that those are some really good things that we've done and that we're continuing to do.
Great, thank you. As you guys can tell from this conversation, there's a lot of businesses out there. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There's a lot of people crafting their solutions and their services for the community. And they are reaching resources and getting training and being invited into places and spaces that are uplifting and providing access to the tools and the training that they need. But again, capital runs the world. And so I'm going to throw it over to you, Jason, and just want to hear from you. What are some success factors of an entrepreneur that you're looking for that makes it easier to work with them? And specifically to Chase, what's a sweet spot?
Well, sweet spots are tough because we do everything, right?
Sure.
Avon to Amazon is all of our customers. However, what makes it easy is being able to work with someone. Over the internet, you always hear these people talk about 50-50 and what do you bring to the table? And that is our question, right? What do you bring to the table? What makes you valuable? What's the value exchange between us? We know you want money, but what are you giving in return? So if you establish yourself as offering an opportunity, that makes it easy to work with. How do you do that? Well, one, you have to know your numbers.
Yeah.
What is your balance sheet? You have to work with a good accountant so that when I call you and after you put in the application, I want these numbers, it doesn't take too much. Because the longer it takes you to get them your financials, the bigger red flag that raises for underwriters. And every underwriting isn't monolithic, they're all different. So knowing your numbers, understanding what you're asking for. Because if you make the wrong ask for the wrong type of lending, it doesn't matter how good you are, they're going to deny the application because that's how the rules work. So, you know, is it a capital purchase that you're making? Or do you need ongoing funds to grow your business in other ways? This should be a line of credit. And then understanding how lending works and which institution is good for what you're currently looking to do. I collaborate with a lot of bankers. Jason and I work together. If I got a question, I pick up the phone and call him, as well as a lot of other institutions. And sometimes I'm literally going, here, you should take this because it's better for the customer, right? And if you only hear from them when it's good for the bank, you probably should be looking for a different institution to work with. What are we giving? But the main thing is knowing what you're asking for and then being prepared to take the money by knowing your numbers, because that's, for most bankers, it's cash flow is what drives everything.
Perfect.
And so we need to know that you know where it comes from and also that you're prepared and then have an ability to pay back what you're asking for. And they work in retrospect, right? We do past performance, not future contracts.
This is, I feel like I've been teed up perfectly to plug in REEF, because that is truly what we exist to do on behalf of the businesses that go through the program, is to understand what capital they need, what capital makes sense, and ensure that that is all buttoned up and ready when we bring a deal to an institution that we already know and have vetted is the right person to ask for the right type of capital that the business is seeking. And so we exist to be that intermediary. So thank you for that, Jason. I'm gonna ask you, what frustrations have you experienced in that?
Sorry, say that again, please.
What frustrations?
They fall into the same cake. One of the major frustrations is people not having an ecosystem together, them not understanding that their accountant isn't doing them a favor when he zeroes them out every year. Because if you tell me you didn't make any money, it's kind of hard to borrow money.
Yeah.
Even if you're actually making it, because what we hear a lot is just look at my bank account. That doesn't really tell us what we need to know to be able to give you money. So those are some of the frustrations. And I also think that people not understanding how to title their company, that makes a big difference, right? I think we were talking about this, Tina and I earlier, there's a difference between John's trucking company and it being titled as logistics.
Hmm.
And if you built your own ecosystem vertically integrating, as she spoke about how she was everything in there, sometimes this entity isn't the one that should be doing the borrowing.
Right.
It's the one up here. And so getting them to understand how finance work is kind of one of the biggest frustrations. And collateral.
Sure.
Your accounts receivable are far more important than you owning heaven title to grandma's house.
Sure.
We don't want our house. We like accounts receivable.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you. All right, well, I'm gonna bring us into a kind of a speed round to bring us to a close. And so I'll maybe we can start with you, Richard. What piece of advice can you offer entrepreneurs in Pittsburgh's built environment?
Well, for the built environment, be very clear about what you do and what you don't do. I often say to people, if you say you do everything, you don't do anything, right? Know what you do it well, and be clear. And don't pursue opportunities that don't align with what you really do well,
Mhm.
because you're only setting yourself up for failure. And, talking about brand management, you take a hit on your reputation and it's hard to recover from it.
Great, great, thank you. Patrice?
I think Richard really hit them. I would say always ask and always keep learning. Even when you don't think someone might have the answer, ask, because if that person that you ask might not know, they probably know someone that does. And just continue to build your network, but build your network in other industries as well. If you're in construction, you should still be trying to connect with people in data centers. You should still be trying to connect with people in economic development or politically, because you never know what conversations and what rooms those individuals are in. So just keeping a net that's very wide.
Great, thank you. Lance?
I'm gonna change it up. I just got back from Columbus from our annual convention, from our national convention. So there's 89 chapters like NBA across the US. And you can't ignore what's taking place on the political environment. So as of right now, I mean, not as of right now, but NBA and all of our other affiliate members have not changed our direction as far as for workforce, for DEI, building up minority businesses. That was a big topic. And matter of fact, at the end of this month, I got to go back down to DC to our national headquarters, and we'll dive deeper in first as far as for DEI. Now, of course, some organizations had to scrap some of their documents for DEI verbiage if they're going after state or federal, especially for federal funding, but their overall objective not changed. They may become a little covert. Instead of saying DEI, they may say they want a workforce or companies that's reflective of the community, right? But just give everybody the reassurance that we have not changed direction as far as for what's taking place now.
Thank you, great. And Jason?
I think the biggest advice I would give to any entrepreneurs, especially as they're growing their business, is to grow responsibly. Don't grow yourself out of business by moving too fast. Make money the last thing that you choose to do, and build great relationships, whether it's your financial institution, your peers, people in your industry, and don't ever not consider joint ventures and collaboration, because whether you were the one who started the program or just participated, it still goes on your resume. It shows capability.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. All right. Well, with we'll give them a round of applause. Perfect. Thank you. With the last few minutes we have, I'm going to open it up to some questions. Are there any questions from the room? Oh, goodness, lots of questions. I'm gonna come over here.
Thank you. LaJon Thompson, Founders First Capital Partners. We're capital providers. I have more of a comment more than a question, especially Richard, hearing some of your frustrations as you were trying to get access to capital. As capital providers is one of the biggest impediments that we face dealing with portfolio companies that just aren't fundable, right? So the advice and the information and the nuggets that is being shared right here is invaluable, right? So for all of you entrepreneurs that are looking to get access to capital, right? One of the main things you have to do is make sure that from an underwriting perspective, you're fundable, right? So I just wanted to say more of a comment than a question. If everything you said resonated with me, from Jason on down to Lance, Patrice, this information is invaluable. This is my first time in your city. Thank you for having me in Pittsburgh. I look forward to connecting with each of you on this panel, you, Heather, everybody in here, I think this ecosystem, this should be replicated in multiple footprints, right? I'm going to take this back to my team and hopefully, you know, we can find some ways synergistically where we can come and how can we support, right? How can, because it's about the value you bring to the table, right? It has to be relational, not transaction.
Great, thank you.
Well done, well done.
Hello, everyone. This is Sylvia Dedrick with PA Home Matters Duquesne. I apologize for being late. I was supposed to be on the panel. However, my mother is suffering from blood cancer. I had to get her together and settled. So we're talking about brand awareness. I'm always early, not just on time. My question is for Richard. How do you court that relationship and develop the relationship with a banker after all of those failed attempts? How did you do that?
Well, first, it's building the track record so that you're in a position to have institutions competing for your business. And then it's doing what you say you're going to do. So I would flip it to my banker. I mean, it's long-term relationships. The statement you made, it's about relational, not transactional. It's crucial. Todd and I met 20-some years ago when he was working at 2 banks before the one he's at now, right? And we maintained that relationship. And then when the opportunity aligned, okay, but you have to pay attention to everything that Jason was talking about. And understand that it's all about trust, but you build trust by doing the things that reinforce trust. So if a question comes and you don't know the answer to the question, say you don't know, but be quick to find out. Don't make it up. Don't hide it. Don't make up a story that's not true. If you've got something to explain, lay it out. And if it doesn't make sense, the amazing thing, especially about finances, if something doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. The truth makes sense. Even if it's absurd, truth makes sense. So people who know what they're listening to, if you're saying something that doesn't make sense, that'll be clear, and that destroys trust.
Great, thank you. I think this will be our last question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua Devine. I'm with the Pittsburgh Foundation, and we are a community foundation. And unlike many other larger private or family foundations, we would competitively be small dollar grant and impact investing. But my question is, we talked about a lot today: education and learning, exposure, capital access, procurement, bidding processes, talked about a lot. So this question is from a funder perspective. As we think about how REEF could thrive here in all of its moving pieces, I'm curious to know if you have advice on where or what to invest in partner as a funder coming into the space to ensure that the work that's happening continues.
Well, you can fund us. Sorry, was that a pitch? No, just kidding. Do we need another? I'll happy to jump in and answer that question. Then we can, one more question after. All right. So I would say that, Joshua, that's a great question, especially for an institution such as yourself and the size that you are. You want your dollars to have a great impact, but they have to be aligned to something that matches that check size of impact, right? And so I throw it back to you as far as what impact do you want to have? Is it impact on an organization? Is it impact on an individual? We have a lot of people in the room that are doing incredible work who, quite frankly, don't know how to get in front of, or even if they do get in front of nonprofit funders or foundations, they get rejected all the time, over and over. And so then they stop asking, right? And they find access to the resources they need elsewhere. And so I think part of it is, a lot of the advice that was just given can be applied even to you in the other side of that equation, building those relationships, building brand awareness, and knowing exactly what it is that you are trying to fund. I'm going to bring it over here for one last question. Oh, okay, go ahead.
It's not a question, but I wanted to tag off of what Richard said about Patrice with Turner, because we've been a partner with Turner for years. And actually, me and Richard were in the same class with Turner Construction. Turner Construction, out of all these companies out here, really try to help us. I just wanted to put that out there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here with you all today, and I know what's coming next is a reception. I'm going to leave it to my business partner for some closing words, but as a quick housekeeping, if you did not register and you are here, I would love to know you. I'd love to have your email and your name, and I'd love to be able to follow up with the recording and to build that connectivity amongst us, because this is why we're here, is to build and strengthen our community. So I'll give it over to John Morris. Thank you.
I promise to be brief because we're finishing up. And thank you for an incredible panel of those who are supporting this whole ecosystem. And obviously, thank you for the entrepreneurs we heard before. First, for the last few years, having Reed Smith introduce us to Juan Garrett and Riverside Center for Innovation has been incredible. And then also working with Robin Young and Tanisha Smith as his partners in this effort has been just incredible. We heard a lot of inspiration earlier from the entrepreneurs, but if you want inspiration, follow them around for a few days the way we have and see how they help so many people become successful businesses across the board, all the way across the board, the whole supply chain. So we have been very fortunate to work with Riverside Center for Innovation. On their behalf, I also would like to thank those who fund RCI, because that's a good funding. That's a good purpose on what they're doing. And I want you to hold that. The other thing is why we got involved, and I have to maybe introduce our firm for a second, so bear with me. We started this company 6 or 7 years ago. Heather and I, together with so many people who have helped us. I see Kelsey in the room, but we've had 300 graduate students, people in different stages of their careers, from my age to people coming out of school who are committed to change in the capital markets, to make the capital markets better, to make it more effective, more inclusive. And the 17 stands for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and firmly believe, let's say in the old days, those who create great wealth solve problems. They don't do it the easy way. They solve problems and they create great wealth. And so we're attracted to challenges and to try to figure out the complexity. When we were introduced into Pittsburgh, and Juan pointed out how hard they work, but it's kind of like hand-to-hand combat all the time, getting some money behind each different initiative. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. Do you go to a foundation for this? Do you go to a bank for this? Do you go to an entrepreneur for that? What's the answer? What's the answer to get behind making Pittsburgh a place that's not just a smart city? Yeah, it is a smart city, one of the best, smartest cities in the top 10, probably. Eds and meds, so much robotics, so much science. By the way, not to knock that, because we love it. But just on the other side, I just want to point out that most technologists keep everything to themselves. It's all IP, intellectual property. They have to get their own answer and succeed. It's not really a team sport. Now, let's talk about the wealth that creates the world. If you piled up all the money in the world, how much is in the global equity markets? About $80 trillion. What's in global bonds and debt? About $120 trillion. What's in real estate? $350 trillion. So this team sport that you all are in is where money is made. And Pittsburgh will probably keep growing as one of the greatest smart cities. But can it be turned into an intelligent city? A city that doesn't focus on how smart it is at the cost of 25% of the population not participating. I challenge this room to say in 2030, because you were talking about Waller, that by 2030, there are 20 African-American owned real estate in the built environment firms that are producing over 20 million in revenues, 10 million in profit. Why is there a handful of a finger that's not actually right in Pittsburgh? Real estate is a portal to change. It is where wealth is created. It doesn't have to come from developers that come from outside and buy up neighborhoods when they're at their worst. It can come from a community, and a community that is trained together in a cohort that is not just 12 developers, but a few developers, a few HVAC, a few people in the cleaning business, a few architects, who now all of a sudden, when there's an opportunity from Turner or University of Pittsburgh or a large contract, it can raise a fraternity of people together to do that and raise all ships. So that's the side we're solving to. Like, I'm so inspired by the entrepreneurs. I know this room has got to, I wish it could just be bottled and promoted everywhere in the world. What we've heard just in you have to go to like 3 days of a conference, get the inspiration that we just got in 2 30-minute sessions. And what did we hear in the first session? We heard about that collaboration. It's not going to happen in the eds and meds. It's going to happen in the built environment. We heard about courage. Now they have it. But to half the room here, do you have it? Do you have it as bankers? Do you have it as foundations? Do you have it as individual investors? And, you know, we're preaching to the converted here, so you most likely do. And do you have it as a corporation? And you're sitting in a job. Are you sitting in that job because you have courage and you're going to speak up? Or are you in that job because you're the right look and feel for that job? The opportunity we have is to be inspired by our entrepreneurs with courage. And that's what REEF is looking to do, to bring philanthropic capital next to lending capital, next to private capital that can take the risk, look at each situation and come together and get it funded for growth. So thank you all, and thank you, RCI, and look forward to talking to everyone afterwards. Thank you.
All right, with that, we are concluded, and we invite everyone to join us in the reception area right outside for some drinks and hors d'oeuvres and a chance to shake hands and connect with one another. Thank you for being here.